You ever looked up at the sky and wondered what really lies beyond those twinkling stars? We talk a lot about Mars, the Moon, maybe even Jupiter. But there's one planet in our solar system that barely gets mentioned. And for good reason. Uranus. It's not just cold or mysterious, it's absolutely terrifying. No human being could survive even a few seconds on its surface. And tonight, we're diving headfirst into a deadly scenario that scientists warn could be one of the most violent death traps in our solar system. But here's the thing. This isn't just about planets or space facts. This is about you. Your curiosity brought you here, and by the end of this video, you're going to understand the exact reason why stepping foot on Uranus would be like signing your own death warrant. So before you scroll past or get distracted, let me ask you something. What really happens to the human body when it's thrown into an atmosphere that defies every law of nature we know? And what if I told you the horror doesn't stop there? Because what's hiding inside Uranus isn't just dangerous, it's unpredictable. The kind of place where your blood could boil and freeze at the same time, where the winds scream faster than sound, and where the very pressure of the atmosphere would crush every bone in your body before you could even blink. But here's where it gets really wild. We're not just going to talk about the science. We're going to walk through a terrifying real-time death scenario, second by second, so you can feel exactly what would happen if you ended up stranded there. I'm not here to throw a bunch of dry facts at you. I'm here to take you there, and you won't want to miss a second because the deeper we go, the darker it gets. Every layer of Uranus reveals something more nightmarish than the last. And trust me, by the end of this, you're going to question everything you thought you knew about space and survival. But right now, as we prepare to descend into the unknown, there's one question that still haunts scientists to this day. Not about how you die on Uranus, but what might be waiting for you after. You're probably thinking, sure, space is dangerous, but how bad can Uranus really be? Trust me, the danger isn't just in what we can see. It's in what we don't understand. That's where the real nightmare begins. And to fully understand why no human could survive Uranus, we have to go way back. Not just in science history, but to the secret missions most people have never even heard about. You see, long before the public was obsessed with Mars colonization, space agencies were quietly collecting data from the outer planets. Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, and of course Uranus. But the info that came back from Uranus, it didn't match up with anything we'd seen before. There were signals, strange radio bursts, inconsistent gravitational anomalies, and something even more chilling, unexplained energy pulses that seemed to come from inside the planet itself. These weren't just random spikes. They followed a pattern, a rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. And while most of the data was classified, a few brave insiders started leaking pieces of the story to independent researchers online. And that's where things started getting really weird. There was one particular mission, never officially confirmed by NASA or any global space agency, that supposedly involved a deep space probe redirected toward Uranus back in the late 1990s. This probe, known only in leaks as Project Echo Dark, wasn't designed for surface exploration. It was built to listen, and what it picked up has haunted scientists and conspiracy theorists ever since. Not just magnetic storms or atmospheric turbulence, but what sounded like structured audio signals, patterns that defied natural explanation. Think about that for a second. Signals that couldn't be explained by natural weather or geological activity. Some even described them as voices, whispers, echoing through layers of gas and ice, captured by a machine that was never meant to return. After just 72 hours of recording, the probe went silent. No crash, no transmission decay, just silence. That's the part that terrifies experts the most, because machines don't just go quiet in deep space unless something or someone shuts them down. And from that moment, Uranus went from being a scientific mystery to a cosmic warning. Fast forward to the present, and the race to explore the outer planets has never been more aggressive. SpaceX, Blue Origin, international space programs, they All have their eyes set beyond Mars. The public thinks it's about finding new resources, preparing for long-term space colonization. But behind the scenes, there's a deeper reason they're looking outward. And it's not just for survival, it's for answers. There are rumors that some organizations believe Uranus is hiding more than just scientific anomalies. Some believe it may be holding the key to understanding dark energy itself, the mysterious force that makes up most of our universe. And if that's true, it changes everything. Imagine discovering that the most hostile planet in our solar system isn't just deadly by nature, but by design. That there may be something inside it, or beneath it, that's intentionally keeping us out, and worse, watching. But let's rewind a bit, because to truly understand the depth of danger, you need to know what happens the moment a human body comes into contact with the atmosphere of Uranus. It's not like drowning, and it's not like burning alive. It's both at the same time. The planet's upper atmosphere is made of hydrogen, helium, and methane. Harmless sounding, right? But once you enter that thick, cold haze, your body begins to shut down in ways you can't even imagine. Temperatures plummet to 370 degrees Fahrenheit, colder than anything naturally occurring on Earth. At that level, your skin freezes instantly. Your blood crystallizes in seconds, and the moisture in your lungs flash freezes before you can scream. But it doesn't end there, because as you descend, the pressure increases exponentially. Your bones wouldn't just break, they'd collapse inward, like dry sticks crushed under a mountain of ice. And even if you had the most advanced spacesuit, on Earth, it wouldn't help. No material we've developed can withstand that kind of prolonged pressure and volatile chemical exposure. Not even close. And then there's the wind, the terrifying, never-ending storms that rage across Uranus at over 500 miles per hour. Faster than a bullet, more violent than any hurricane ever recorded. If you were falling into Uranus, you wouldn't just be frozen or crushed. You'd be shredded, torn apart piece by piece, long before you even reached the planet's core. But let me ask you, why does a planet so far from the sun have this much power? Why is it still active? Why is it still producing so much energy when it should have gone cold and quiet millions of years ago? That's the question keeping astrophysicists awake at night. Because the more we study Uranus, the more it breaks the rules. Its magnetic field is tilted, chaotic, unstable. It doesn't line up with the planet's rotation like Earth's does. Instead, it spirals erratically, making it nearly impossible to map. And here's the kicker, it seems to shift, as if something inside the planet is moving it, and this is where our main story begins. Not with astronauts or billion-dollar rockets, but with a private research vessel, funded by a shadowy conglomerate of elite investors, launching from a secret location in Antarctica. The crew? Not your usual scientists and engineers. This was a hand-picked team of controversial figures, ex-military, rogue physicists, deep web researchers, and one very quiet former NASA insider. Their mission, to reach Uranus, not to explore, but to confirm something that had been whispered about, in classified circles for years, that beneath the surface of the planet there might be something artificial, a structure, possibly ancient, possibly alive. And as this team traveled deeper into space, strange things began to happen. Equipment failure, power surges, dreams, shared between crew members, vivid, disturbing, identical. A woman on the ship, a neuropsychologist, began documenting these shared experiences. Her notes suggested some kind of psychic interference. Something reaching into their minds, manipulating, testing. Meanwhile, back on Earth, strange weather patterns began emerging, all centered around magnetic anomalies linked directly to Uranus's activity. Radio operators in remote areas picked up indecipherable static, sometimes layered with what sounded like coded language. Independent astronomers started noticing unusual flickers in the sky, brief pulses of blue-green light near Uranus's orbit. And then one by one, those astronomers started disappearing. Their websites were taken down, social accounts wiped clean. One even left a voicemail with a friend saying, "They're coming from the dark side. Not aliens, not us. Something else." And then nothing. Gone. No trace. All of this, all these threads, seem to pull toward one central truth: that Uranus is more than a planet, that it might be a gate, or a tomb, or something in between. The research vessel finally reaches its target, and what they find is beyond anything even the most extreme conspiracy theories predicted. I won't spoil what they saw just yet, because the horror of it isn't in the object, it's in what it does to them. One crew member goes catatonic. Another begins violently sketching symbols no one can translate. Their onboard AI system starts speaking in reverse, using voices from the crew's past. At this point, even turning back might be impossible. Because the further they go, the less real time feels. The less human they feel. It's almost like the planet is rewriting them, like they were never meant to leave once they got close. And just when they think they've reached the edge of the atmosphere and begin to prepare for their data capture, they realize something's wrong. The planet's gravitational field suddenly shifts, not in a natural way, in a deliberate one, as if it sensed them and responded. But before they can react, every alarm on the ship starts going off at once. Radiation spikes, electrical interference, rapid descent. They're being pulled in, not like a falling object, but like prey, hunted, caught. And the last message sent back to Earth? Just a single word over and over, typed by trembling fingers on a glitching keyboard. Awake, awake, awake. What that means, we still don't know. But one thing's for sure, the closer you get to Uranus, the more you realize. It's not just space that's deadly. It's what's been waiting in it, watching, learning, and maybe calling us all along. And this is only the beginning. What's buried deep inside Uranus is beyond terrifying. And it's waking up. That chilling last message, awake, 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 wasn't just a cryptic warning. It was a signal, an alarm that rippled far beyond the confines of that stranded ship. Back on Earth, as analysts scrambled to decode the fragmented transmissions, a new wave of unease rippled through the global scientific community. The world's top space agencies, who had dismissed Uranus as a frozen, lifeless gas giant, were forced to reconsider everything. This planet wasn't just a remote outpost of ice and gas. It was a living enigma, an active force with a will of its own. But what exactly did it want? That question haunted every researcher, every policymaker, and every space enthusiast glued to their screens in the days that followed. The answer, as it turned out, was far more complicated and terrifying than anyone could have predicted. In Seoul, the aftermath of the lost mission, a covert task force was assembled, made up of the best minds from around the world: physicists, exobiologists, engineers, and cryptologists. They pored over the scant data, looking for any hint of what had gone wrong. What they found only deepened the mystery. The planet's magnetic field wasn't merely fluctuating. It was synchronizing with patterns that resembled ancient Earth languages and mathematical codes. More disturbingly, those signals seemed to be directed at the ship's AI system, hijacking its controls and manipulating the crew's mental states. It was as if Uranus itself was communicating, or worse, experimenting. That revelation shifted the entire conversation from a physical danger to a psychological one. Not only could the planet destroy your body, but it could invade your mind. And this sent shockwaves through the space exploration community, prompting questions about the ethics and risks of probing such an unknown entity. Meanwhile, in a dimly lit underground lab somewhere in the Nevada desert, a disgraced scientist, who had been quietly working on cutting-edge neurointerface technology, began to connect the dots in a way no one else could see. He hypothesized that the whispers picked up by the original probe weren't random transmissions, but a form of sentient communication, encoded not in sound waves, but in the subtle manipulation of electromagnetic fields, a language designed to influence consciousness. What if Uranus wasn't just a planet, but a vast natural neural network, or even a colossal biological entity spanning its icy atmosphere? This radical theory, if true, meant that Uranus could think and feel in ways completely alien to human understanding. And if it was aware of the human presence, it might not just react defensively, it might respond aggressively. This idea triggered a dangerous debate among the scientific community and military strategists alike. Some argued for immediate retreat and complete avoidance, warning that any further attempts to explore Uranus could trigger catastrophic consequences for Earth itself. Others, however, saw an opportunity. If humanity could decode and harness whatever power or intelligence was embedded within Uranus, it might revolutionize energy, technology, even our very understanding of life. But as teams geared up for another mission, this time armed with experimental technology meant to shield both body and mind, a parallel story unfolded on social media. Amateur astronomers, space enthusiasts, and conspiracy theorists alike began reporting strange phenomena, glowing auroras on Uranus's poles that pulsated, in sync with the signals detected by the researchers. Mysterious flashes that didn't match any known natural occurrence. Videos, photos, and live streams flooded platforms like YouTube and TikTok, fueling a frenzy of speculation. The keywords Uranus mystery, alien signals, and space horror began trending worldwide as curiosity turned into fear. Tensions rose. The new mission launched under strict secrecy, with a state-of-the-art vessel equipped with advanced shielding and AI systems capable of resisting interference, or so they thought. The crew consisted of individuals not just selected for their expertise but for their psychological resilience. But from the moment the ship entered Uranus's orbit, strange malfunctions plagued their instruments. Communication with Earth became spotty and distorted. Members of the crew began experiencing vivid hallucinations, memories that weren't their own, and feelings of paranoia so intense they couldn't trust each other. The neuropsychologist on board, who had been monitoring mental health, became increasingly alarmed as she documented episodes of shared dreams that seemed to blur the line between reality and illusion. They spoke of strange beings, ancient civilizations, submerged beneath layers of ice, and cryptic messages carved into crystalline structures, visible only in the ship's scans. One of the engineers, skeptical and pragmatic, dismissed these visions as side effects of prolonged exposure to radiation and stress. Yet, when the ship's AI started broadcasting encrypted messages matching the patterns of those hallucinations, even he couldn't ignore the possibility that something external was infiltrating their minds. At the same time, the captain grappled with the impossible task of keeping his crew grounded, as power failures and rapid shifts in gravity created a disorienting environment. The vessel was being pulled closer to the planet, not by natural gravitational forces, but by a deliberate, intelligent manipulation of space-time itself. Time began to distort inside the ship. Seconds stretched and collapsed unpredictably, eroding the crew's sense of continuity. It became clear they weren't just exploring Uranus. They were being drawn into it, trapped within a living nightmare where the rules of physics were bent to a terrifying degree. Back on Earth, a growing faction of whistleblowers and former insiders began leaking classified documents that revealed something even more unsettling. Decades ago, secret missions had detected an ancient artifact buried deep beneath Uranus's atmosphere, a structure so large it defied explanation, resembling a massive gateway or beacon. Some leaked images suggested it was composed of materials unknown to science, with patterns eerily similar to those detected in the ship's hallucinations. Speculation ran rampant. Was this a relic of an extinct alien civilization? A natural formation turned sentient over billions of years? Or worse, a containment device for something even darker? These questions tore through the scientific community and public consciousness alike, raising fears that humanity might be poking at something far beyond its control. Amidst this chaos, the neuropsychologist on board the ship made a breakthrough. By synchronizing the crew's neural data with the AI's encrypted transmissions, she discovered a startling pattern. The signals from Uranus appeared to be a form of collective consciousness, attempting to communicate, but also testing the limits of human perception and sanity. It was as if the planet was inviting them to join, to merge, to become part of something incomprehensibly vast and ancient. But such a union came at a cost, the loss of individuality, the dissolution of the self, into an overwhelming cosmic mind. This raised an ethical dilemma that tore the crew apart. Some saw it as a transcendence, a new frontier for human evolution. Others recognized it as a form of cosmic imprisonment, an eternal trap disguised as enlightenment. The tension within. The ship reached a breaking point when one crew member, overwhelmed by the psychic assault, attempted to sabotage the vessel's systems in a desperate bid to escape the planet's pull. This act triggered a cascade of failures, plunging the ship into darkness and cutting off the last thread of communication with Earth. As systems failed, strange crystalline growths began appearing inside the ship, structures that defied known physics, shimmering and pulsating with the same eerie light observed on Uranus's surface. These formations seemed to interface with the ship's AI, growing more complex and integrated as time passed. The crew realized too late that their presence had awakened something dormant, not just within the planet, but within the vessel itself. Just when it seemed the situation couldn't get any worse, an unexpected twist sent shockwaves through everyone involved. The captain discovered that one of the crew members was not who they appeared to be. Hidden identities, falsified records, and a secret agenda unraveled the fragile trust on board. This person had been sent by an unknown organization with motives shrouded in secrecy, possibly to monitor or even sabotage the mission. Their presence raised more questions than answers. Were they trying to prevent humanity from uncovering the truth? Were they acting as agents of control, or perhaps as pawns in a much larger game? And most chillingly, could their interference have triggered the psychic phenomena now engulfing the ship? As these layers of deception and cosmic horror intertwined, the crew faced their darkest moments. Paranoia escalated, alliances shifted, and the line between friend and foe blurred. The ship, caught in Uranus's relentless grip, became a crucible where human limits were tested, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually. The planet's mysteries deepened with every passing moment, each revelation opening doors to even greater unknowns. And just when hope seemed lost, a faint glimmer of possibility emerged, a coded message from deep within the crystalline growths, suggesting that the planet's consciousness might be trying to warn, not just consume. But what was the nature of this warning? And was humanity ready to hear it? The story of Uranus is no longer just about a distant, deadly planet. It's about the fragile boundary between discovery and destruction, between knowledge and madness. And as the mission spirals toward its inevitable climax, one truth becomes terrifyingly clear. No one who ventures close to Uranus will ever be the same. Whether they survive or succumb, the planet leaves an indelible mark, one that challenges everything we thought we knew about life, death, and the vast unknown waiting just beyond our reach. The question now is not just if humanity can survive Uranus, but if it can survive what Uranus is awakening within us all. That final, desperate flicker of hope, the coded message hidden deep within the crystalline growths, was their last lifeline in a world that was rapidly unraveling around them. The realization that Uranus's consciousness might be trying to communicate, not just consume, shifted everything for the surviving crew. They weren't merely victims caught in an alien trap. They were participants in a cosmic dialogue that transcended human understanding. But this revelation came with a price. To truly understand the message, they had to surrender their fear, their skepticism, and in many ways their very sense of self. The neuropsychologist led the charge, guiding the crew through meditative states that synchronized their minds to the strange electromagnetic pulses emanating from the planet's core. What followed was a shared experience so profound it defied description. Visions of distant worlds, ancient civilizations, and a vast network of consciousness stretching across galaxies, all linked by a force that was part energy, part life, and part something else entirely. As the crew delved deeper into this connection, the true nature of Uranus was unveiled. The planet was not just a hostile environment, but a sentient being, a guardian of knowledge and balance in the universe. Its chaotic storms, shifting magnetic fields, and psychic interference were mechanisms designed to protect itself from intrusion, to filter out those unready for its secrets. The ancient artifact buried beneath its icy layers was a beacon, a gateway to this cosmic consciousness, left behind by a civilization that had transcended physical form long ago. The artifact wasn't a weapon or a prison, but an invitation and a test. Only those capable of transcending their individual fears and limitations could unlock its potential. But for those who failed, Uranus's defenses were merciless. With this understanding, the surviving crew realized the stakes were higher than they had ever imagined. The planet's awakening was a response to humanity's growing ambition in space exploration, a signal that we were on the cusp of a new evolutionary threshold. But it was also a warning. The universe was far more complex, far more interconnected than humanity had grasped. As they worked to stabilize their failing ship, they faced a choice: attempt to return with this knowledge, risking mental and physical collapse, or merge completely with the consciousness of Uranus, becoming part of something eternal, but losing their individuality forever. This choice tore the crew apart. Some saw merging as salvation, a path to infinite knowledge and unity. Others clung to their humanity, desperate to survive as individuals. The captain, torn between duty and survival, made the agonizing decision to send a final encrypted transmission to Earth, revealing the truth and warning others to respect the boundaries of this cosmic force. The journey back was harrowing. The ship's systems barely functioning, the crew battling psychological storms more violent than any physical ones. As they approached the edge of Uranus's influence, the planet's magnetic field pulsed one last time, engulfing them in a blinding wave of energy. When the crew regained consciousness, they found themselves orbiting safely, miraculously intact, but forever changed. The mission's data, transmitted in fragments during the chaos, began to reshape human understanding of space and consciousness. Uranus was no longer just a distant gas giant. It was a symbol of the universe's mysteries, a reminder that some frontiers demanded humility and respect. Yet, just as humanity celebrated the safe return and groundbreaking discoveries, an unexpected twist emerged. Analysis of the data revealed a hidden message, one embedded deep within the cosmic consciousness that Uranus had shared. It was a message not meant for humans, but for something else, an ancient intelligence watching from the shadows, waiting for the right moment to make contact. This revelation sent ripples through the scientific community and the public alike, hinting that humanity's encounter with Uranus was only the beginning of a much larger story, one that would challenge everything we know about life, intelligence, and our place in the cosmos. As the world grappled with these profound truths, the lessons of the Uranus mission remained clear. The universe is vast and unknowable, filled with wonders and dangers beyond our imagining. But the most important discovery wasn't the planet itself or its mysteries. It was the resilience and courage of the human spirit when faced with the unknown. This story reminds us that exploring the outer reaches of space is also a journey inward, testing our limits, expanding our consciousness, and revealing our true strength. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of inner strength and resilience. Until next time, stay strong, stay brave, and never forget your worth.